give them the opportunity to talk in front of their peers, but make it a safe environment where, okay, what formation should we play today, do you think?
Hmm.
What? Yeah. Because I remember even doing one of my first time I was coaching some senior uh, players. It was football, I was working on the FA, and a little got them in. And the first thing I asked was, I didn't tell them anything. I said, what did you think? One of the senior players in the team was, what do you mean? Oh, you were playing. What did you think and feel out
Hmm.
there? Oh, well, rather than it's not only coming in, guys, know what we need to do. I was like, You're not playing. You're a coach. So, first and foremost, what did they see? What did they think? What did they feel?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
they're there. And if you're constantly instructing them, where are they going to go and have their creativity?
Welcome to the Core Growth Show, the podcast where we aim to educate, share, and inspire you to grow, lead with purpose, and make a real impact. With your host, Gary Wallace.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Core Growth Show. Again, I enjoyed in this lovely little series with Pete. Pete, how are you today?
Wonderful. Thank you. Glad to be back here and thanks for having me. It's always a pleasure to sit temporarily in your seat. So thank you for letting me do
Thank you for holding the seat very well, keeping it nice and warm for me to return. So, yeah, Pete, we've been on a bit of a journey. We've been looking at, from, I suppose, a child development point of view, from everybody's physical literacy point of view, and getting the theory behind it, everything breaking down each stage. Now we're going to look today about putting it into practice.
that.
So, would you like to kick us off where we're going to begin?
Yeah, well, I mean, it sort of makes sense, right? I suppose part of what you do is obviously about the physical side. So we've talked about the theory, we've talked about the principles behind it and why we do it and the benefits to the body. So, I see you in my eyes as Mr. Motivator anyway. So listen, take us into that world of actually putting it into practice. How do you make it fun? Because the theory can be a bit dry, right? Or we know what we should do, but then how do you actually translate it into kids? Because kids love play, right?
Oh, they do, and I think that's the thing with this. If people have been listening along, you can use the word kids lightly because this comes into everybody. Now, one thing that I would always suggest is kids aren't many adults either. So that's important. So when we are putting things into practice, kids aren't many adults. So essentially what I mean by that, what you're doing now maybe is maybe more related to coaches out there who think, well, yeah, I played this and we did this drill and we did this. Yeah, but you did that as an adult. It doesn't mean that that necessarily transfers over towards a kid. So we
Hmm.
have to think like a kid. So yeah, I think for this part, yeah, for me, there's kind of three main areas. There might be another area come up as the conversation goes, and that's what I love about this. There's no right or wrong. There's certain ways, but you're looking at the home when it comes to everybody's physical literacy and development, children, adults, everyone. School is another key area, especially for kids, but also the teachers involved as well in the whole school community. And then you are probably looking at the community, the outside, whenever it's extracurricular. So that could be in sports clubs, in any community group, or charity
Hmm.
group, whatever it is. So those are the three areas that we can kind of look at about creating a positive environment where children and everybody in it can thrive.
Hmm. Take us back a bit there. You said think like a kid. How does a kid think? I mean, what do you mean by that? I mean, what's the difference between the way an adult thinks and a kid thinks?
My personal opinion is their creativity will always shine through.
Okay.
That I think as we are growing up through life and we're institutionalized, that we are put into this structure.
Mhm.
Go to school, come out of school, go to college, follow these textbooks, follow this, sit this exam till you do this job, pigeonhole yourself in here. Whereas a child can see endless possibilities. And that's where I think we have to go. It was really interesting. I met a guy yesterday who's involved with play. So he works for Donegal Partnership. Danny he's called. Really interesting conversation, and he was saying that he was running these sessions for a number of weeks, and he used to start off every day building, having the Jenga, so the huge big wooden blocks, so the big
Right.
massive one.
Hmm.
After 2 or 3 minutes, bang, fall down, kids move on. So what he decided to do, he used the same amount of blocks, but what he did, he put a number of them, say 10, inside five different hula hoops. So 10 blocks and five different hula hoops. When the kids came in, he says he didn't realize the amount of stuff that could be done with Jenga blocks. They were building ships, they were playing games with them that he didn't even think of. They were creating letters with them. He's like, it was phenomenal. So I think that's where let kids be kids comes into play. We see one thing and maybe we are pigeonholed, we are put through all the safety concerns, all this, all that, all the red tape that we've grown up through our life, and we see it for what it is, whereas children see it for what it could be. And that's where creativity comes in. And it brings back the fact that even with Danny's example there, this is somebody who's skilled in this area. Took him a while to realize, let's try it a different way. And all he did was create the environment. The
Hmm.
children made the magic.
That's massive, though, isn't it? To have is it confidence or to just give the kids enough space to let them do that, to let them find that weird and wonderful way that you would never possibly have thought of.
Is it, and this is what we're looking to do as parents, as educators, as coaches, especially with our
Hmm.
own kids, is create that environment. You know, give them the capacity that they can fill it up whatever way they want. I remember reading an article. It was like it all started with a ball, and I ended up writing an article based off it around it as well. But the whole idea was in your home, scatter equipment around, have the footballs around, and you don't know where that will lead to. Their
Hmm.
first touch, their first kick, their first sensation, the first time they scored a goal. And it was interesting. I see now Colin's got the stage where we have to maybe change the type of ball again because he's now got a powerful enough kick that he nearly knocked the dishes off the training board the other day because just this right peg, he rolled the ball to him, bang, and it just took flight. Whereas previous it was going on the ground. Now Olivia was a wee bit, no more ball in the house. I was like, no, we'll just do it a different way. And now maybe it's a thing for me where it's to say to him, can we try and keep it on the ground? Not that I ever want to encourage or limit what he wants to do, but it's now a safety thing.
Hmm.
But I'm enhancing his skill as well. So rather than that, now we're doing target practice. So now I'm opening up my legs and he's trying to kick the ball through my legs. So he knows if he strikes it too high, it's not going to go through the legs. If he strikes
Yeah.
it too soft or if he's accurate enough to strike it through as well too. So uh, it's creating that environment, and that's just one example, you know. And I've done that from the beginning, where it's buy him his first wee soft, squeezable, nearly toy like a teddy bear kind of shape, you know, a stuffed ball to move along, and that's just one piece of equipment, you know. It was funny. My cousin, his godfather bought him a plastic golf set at Christmas, so he's two. And Colin's your typical boy.
Hmm.
And as soon as they opened it up, my sisters and my mum and everything, ooh, I don't know. Conlon with that, that's a weapon. But monkey see, monkey do. My granddad's big into golf. He loves watching granddad doing it. So now he golfs. The Masters came on, and again, creating an environment. Yes, the Masters was on in the background, and Conlon went and got his golf stuff. And I put a video up on our socials of him actually swinging it and connecting with it quite well. But for him, he was playing golf. He was playing what Grandad does. He was playing what Rory McIlroy was doing on the TV. And it was
Hmm.
all because it was created with the environment to do that as well. So that is huge. And I'm not saying anything here completely, oh my God, Gary, that's unbelievable. it's like everybody will do this, but just be more aware of the environment you're creating. And that's
Hmm.
all I had to do. I didn't get involved until I needed to, in terms of when it came like a danger that we like the types of glasses and cups that we have, so we don't want them smashing all over the ground. But
Yeah.
with everything else, it's natural and it's thought. So those are a few things like when you are creating the environment, we're nearly obsessed with keeping everything so organized and tidy and that the magic happens sometimes in the mess.
Hmm.
Where, yeah, you might have a dedicated corner or an area or your toy room, whatever it may be, but let that creativity flow in those moments as well.
Hmm. And that's why is that? I mean, is it human nature that we look straight to, if you're not first, you're last. If where you might see the technique, you might see the skill, etc. They mightn't quite have it nailed down or whatever, but you might go, well, actually, they have all the fundamentals in place, and the rest will come through practice. The rest will come through repetition. Whereas people are going, yeah, yeah, I mean, there's Colin, yeah, he's all right, but he keeps knocking dishes off the top and all the rest, and it's like, but that's part of the process, and
100%.
you know,
Yeah. Because
doesn't.
again, when you break that down into like skill, that's his, looking at it from a technical point of view,
Hmm.
that's his tactile awareness or his proprioception. So how much force he's generating there. That's his spatial awareness as well,
Hmm.
where his kick, no matter where I'm standing, will be the same force because all he sees is a ball
Hmm.
and he knows to kick it a way.
Yeah.
Then it's up to us maybe to have that environment where, okay, can we let them explore certain things? So what I'm doing now is I stand close or I stand far, and all he wants to do the whole time is get me to stand as far away as possible, which is perfect. But now I stand my legs out, and now he's got a target. Okay, and the beauty about this is that there's no end to play. Like it's not the games can be games, but the beauty when you watch kids play, it's done when it's done. That's it. It could
Yep.
be 2 minutes, it could be 5 minutes, it could be half an hour, it could be left, it could come back to in an hour, 2 days, 2 weeks, but they just seem to pick it up.
Hmm.
We have magic sand there, where the kinetic sand, and it's interesting. We used to always tidy it up and put it out, but I have a sand tray now with the better weather and tidied up the garage and stuff. I've left it out, and now every time he goes outside, he's just attracted towards the tray. And I one day I was pretending to make pizza with the thing, and he's like, I'm rolling dough," and he's rolling away and putting it out, and that'll be it. Then he'll go off somewhere else and come back, but it's set up for him to go and do that for 10 minutes. It's just the environment, we're fortunate, we have the space and we have that. That's fine, but it's set out there for him to do that.
Yeah. As you say, that setup is key, isn't it? Really, I suppose it's. What does it say? If you're going to go to the gym in the morning, lay your clothes out. Set your alarm. These are all indications of trying to get it all done right, or trying to sort of set the routine for that that
Yeah.
makes play easier, or makes the habit or the opportunity easier.
Yeah, and again, it's that habit stacking analogy too. So Atomic Habits, I think, was when I first kind of came across it, where you're stacking. The last time we did this podcast, I butchered every single book and author as well too. Is that why you're half smirking there? I was like,
Yeah.
he's like, I'm gonna have to correct him again. But like a habit stacking, like for me, an example of habit stacking when it comes to physical literacy is movement in the morning,
Hmm.
where I play Alexa. I have flash briefing set up when it's not an all round sport. But every time I Alexa flash briefing, I'll go through my movement routine. So I'll
Hold on,
do.
sorry. What's flash briefing? You got to explain this to me.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. So it's not in that. So Alexa. So what you can set up on your Alexa app, short news bulletins. So just a
Okay.
review of everything. So I've BBC Sports News, Sky Sports News, RT News, and BBC News say. And it's funny, even sometimes we won't mind to skip on past the RT and BBC because like I don't want to hear any negativity first thing in the morning.
Hmm.
But the sport is what I'm keen on and interested in. So I'll get up and up. If I say to Alexa, Alexa, flash briefing, there was always a wee joke of the day as well in there. So it was like, so always like the wee joke of the day, the proper dad jokes. So they are like, trying to think even of the one now. But anyway, if it comes to me, I'll say what this morning one was. But again, then I'll just move. But I move dictated based on me saying that's what habit stacking. As
Hmm.
soon as I hear Alexa thing, I'll go and I'll jump up and down, do maybe a routine, stretch the body, do my simple routine, fly speedman's finished, it's done. You know, other people do it. Something simple, even if you want to start it with put the kettle on. As the kettle's boiling, can
Yep.
you bring in some sort of movement? You know, because everybody's all about this different flushing systems and you're taking this out and what way can you move? And it's just, you know what, just move. Like I would
Yep.
literally bounce up and down, shake my hands out, shake everything out, get into a little bit of a skip and go down. And even the old imaginary skipping rope, if you can't skip, doesn't matter, just pretend you have one in each hand. That's how I teach kids to skip from the very start. It's all about rhythm and
Hmm.
timing anyway. So just pretend
Yep.
you've got it in your thing, and then we go from there. Um, on that as well, too, the next phase I always teach kids to skip is hold the skipping rope. Then, so first phase would be skip without the skipping rope, magic skipping rope. Next one would be hold the skipping rope in one hand with the two handles in one hand. Move it along the side, and every time it hits the ground, you jump. So you get in the rhythm.
Okay.
Then I would teach them then with two hands and try and do two skips, you know, or go forward and backwards. And
Hmm.
then it's practice, practice, practice. Because really, skip, like, what is skipping when you break it down? It's rhythm, timing,
Hmm.
coordination,
Yep.
spatial awareness, where you are, where the space is in the skipping rope as it's moving around. And it's just that on repetition. And then it's a learned skill. Uh, with the neurons that wire and fire together, then you remember it. It's like riding a bike. So if you ever skipped when you were younger, it won't take you too long to remember to skip again, i.e., another area of physical literacy.
Yeah. And it's seen as playful, right? That skipping is, yes, it's fun, it's playful, it's energetic, it does everything, right?
It is like and this is where you think of that song Amble, take me back to my schoolyard days, and skipping was more than that. Like it was skipping and timing and jumping in, and you jumped in, and there were songs and there was rhythm, and you talk about even in school, like you want to learn something, you want to learn your rhythm, your rhyme, get them into skipping. Can they sing a song when they're doing it? Can they go with a rhythm? Can you do it in threes? There's so much there, and then you're activating the brain. We talked about all the theory behind it, about what actually happens, releasing these endorphins, releasing your BDNF, and you're constantly moving within that. So again, it's another idea of the environment. Like one example we would also do in schools is lunchtime support program, which we have helped schools with before.
Hmm.
So during lunchtime, in most schools, parents think, "Oh, my kids will be active at lunch." There's probably a number of things. Number one is limitation. You can't go here, you can't do that, maybe you can't do that, get away from here. And it's the mindset too of our lunchtime support staff, be that teachers or classroom assistants, whoever's there. And they're only doing it because, again, back to that first point, it's based probably around safety.
Yep.
Don't do that because that might happen. Whereas we come in and we're like, if you can break your playground area into different zones, and in those zones, you might have one zone might be hula hoops, one zone might be skipping ropes, one zone might be badminton rackets, another zone might be a football pitch.
Hmm.
You get the point now. So there's hurdles in this zone, whatever it is. And all they're doing, the children come out to the playground. They're already in their groups. Maybe be tables are sitting at. It might be that they have class colors or names, whatever they have, and they go into each area for a number of minutes. And you're like, explore that equipment. Just play. Come together. Come up with a game. Do what you want. And then The support board, the staff, the lunchtime support staff are there just to encourage. That's it.
Hmm.
Encourage, yes, make sure everybody's safe, but love what you're doing there. That's a great idea. Normally, I wouldn't think of walking across a skipping rope. What are you making? Well, the floor's lava. Fantastic. Brilliant. Well, I'm making a big snake. Oh, I'm going to attach my snake to your snake. Fantastic. What way could what? And then I'll talk about this later on, but it's like it's getting really good asking questions. You're like, well, what other ways could you go across your snake? You know, I can go backwards. Fantastic. What about could you do it any lower? Yeah, I could crawl. Oh, I love that. Right. I could roll. How does that turn out? Oh, it's a wee bit sore me. Oh, brilliant. No problem. Try something else. And all they'll do is they'll rotate around every few minutes
Hmm.
and they're getting active play. They're moving. They're socializing. They're interacting. And they're exploring loads of different skills. So even if there are any schools listening, uh, well, Gary, when are we going to get to do this? How do we set this up? So one of the things we do then is we have our little core kids champions in the P7s, and they would actually come out 10 minutes before lunchtime starts and set this up. So you're getting ownership back onto the kids.
Yeah.
So you're saying, and you may organize. I know we did it in a huge school. They had nearly over 800 kids in it, so they had like 4 or 5 different areas, and they color coordinated them in boxes. So they put this is the equipment that goes to this playground. This is the equipment that goes to that playground. They had little flashcards so the kids could actually see. This is the hula hoop station. This is this station. This station. So the P7s probably love to get out of class for 10 more minutes. What are they going to learn in that? But what more responsibility are you giving them? The
Hmm.
pride of them
Hmm.
setting that up, to doing that, to working together. So there's so much within that and that. And again, all you're doing there is creating an environment
Yeah.
for children to thrive.
Mm. Did you say it's giving them the tools, and they don't need to be complicated. In fact, the simpler the better. Hula hoops, giant Jenga, skipping ropes, whatever. And we're so busy potentially sort of complicating it when actually simplifying it would be absolutely fine.
Yeah. This could even bring up the debate. Like whenever you're younger, think of your games. So first and most important question for you, what did you call, was it called Curbsy in your day or
Hmm.
Kirby?
Kirby.
Curbsy? We were
Yeah.
Curbsy. Yeah. So, but think about that. Curbsy. We played lamppost, 1, 2, 3. So lamppost, 1, 2, 3 was somebody counted the lamppost. Everybody hid. You had to try and find them, but you had to run to the lamppost before they did and say, lamppost, 1, 2, 3, I'm free. Or it might be if the catcher was going, they'd run to the lamppost, say, 1, 2, 1, lamppost, 1, 2, 3, I see Gary. So they would have spotted you, and then
Hmm.
everybody sprinting back to the lamppost. That was
Yeah.
a lamppost and an area.
Yeah.
We might have played that for it. Then you had the extreme games of torture where you came together and you had to come up with a word and you got a letter each. And somebody literally would go around trying to batter you to get the letter so they could come up. And that was a different level of stuff. But like I was thinking about this the other day, you know, I was very fortunate. And again, it's about your environment. I actually grew up in a park and we were quite sporty. But I still remember to this day the tree hut that we built, or our little sanctuary. Now
Hmm.
it's actually the school, the local primary school is actually in the place where it was. But we would have got lost in the field. We would have created that. We created games. I remember filling it out. It was one day in primary school. We were given an activity sheet. So how active are you over the weekend? My activity was through the roof because it was this random phase that we took where we played rollerblade hockey on our street. We all got our rollerblades. It was like a craze going through.
Hmm.
And I don't know if we used even, some of us might have hockey sticks, some of us had like hurls, some of us had, God knows what you had. As long as you had an implement that you could strike a ball and literally played in a street. That was it. And that was one of the things that we did. I was thinking about this the other day, and we used to play in the garden and we used to reenact all the time. So it might have been if you scored, or even if you're playing on the gravel pitch, like you talk about, oh my God, the surfaces these days. We played in gravel pitches where if you slid or you fell, You were picking stones out of your elbow, or you were getting
Mm-hmm.
into bed that night and the bed sheets were sticking to you as you were pulling it off.
Oh,
But I know you scored a goal. It was like, I remember, I think it was the FA Cup. Tony Yeboah used to play for Leeds, and he scored this worldie where it was like a volley where crossbar in. And every time you scored, he did a Yeboah, he did a Yeboah. And kids are doing it now. They're reenacting the celebrations of their things, and that's beautiful. And there was even one extreme one where we talk about play, we talk about learning, we talk about misbehaving. And it was the Eric, I don't know if you remember, but Eric Cantona did a Nike ad, and it was the devil. It was the one where he flicked up the shirt,
yeah, yeah,
where
yeah,
they
I do.
where they played
Yeah.
with the fire.
Mm-hmm.
So we may have went into my dad's garage. We may have borrowed some petrol. We may have set a football alight to try and play this game. You talk about learning. Like no science class was going to teach us that don't be striking that. And as soon as you did it, it's gone. Like, but those were the things that we did when we were younger. There was mischief, there was learning, but memories. Like somebody could have very easily got really hurt, extremely hurt, and thinking, you go, my God, Gary, I can't believe you're saying you did that. That's a disgrace.
What
That's
exactly
youth.
did you end up doing? You
That
covered
so
the ball and
we put the ball on fire to try and kick it.
so
Like
you soaked it in petrol.
soaked it in petrol, lit it, and then tried to do it. I think at a stage one of the boys tried to put it around the post as well.
Mm.
Literally just, and this is it. There was no videos. It was literally the
Yeah.
4 or 5 of us that we waited to nighttime, so it will be better effect for us. I think it lasted 3 seconds.
Mm-hmm. What the
So we
ball
lit the
or the
ball,
or
which
the
the flame. We tried to light the post. Like I think we stole a jar because then you didn't want to steal too much petrol in case your mum or dad knew that you were stealing their petrol. So we stole like a little
you're
jar,
probably
like a jam
stinking.
jar petrol. I know you'd be stinking, it covered in you and everything. And we tried to light it, but right, wrong, indifferent, whatever it was still,
Yeah, don't try this at home, kids.
yeah,
Just
kids, please don't try this at home. But it's interesting because that's one of the things. And then I would ask
Mm,
myself, what I remember being at a conference one time and someone was talking about this and goes, think it back to your school or your own youth. Is there something you did that, was fun, exciting, whatever it may be, a bit dangerous, a bit out there, misbehaving? You're like, yeah, so that might be an example. Put your hand up. He says, put your hand up if you did. Second thing he says, now put your hand up if you'd let your child do the same thing. Majority of hands went down. But why?
mm-hmm.
Why? This is part of childhood. This is part of growing up. And I know there's stories out there where it can be absolutely disastrous and safety comes in. But it goes back to that point we said where children are an eye shot now, being able to play on structure. But
Yeah.
we're actually since 1963, we're actually living in the safest society since then. So when people think, oh my God, it's so dangerous out there. But the facts of it is that, crime's gone down,
Yeah.
everything's gone down, but we're still overcautious the whole time. And again, that's a prime example. You probably did things in your youth growing up that you were like, I do not want my girls doing that.
Of of course. Yeah.
But think what you learnt, think the stories, think of everything. And that's all through play, through exploring. And I'm going to the extreme now, but still and all, just let them climb a tree and jump off it, you know. Or even better, don't know about it. Know where they
Mm-hmm.
are, know that they're coming home, they're going to be safe. What they do in that time, don't let your mind wander too much, but they'll figure it out. And we do have a natural
Yeah.
protective mechanism within ourselves, and we know right from wrong. And don't get me wrong, and there was guys I was maybe hanging around with who pushed it a bit too far, and I knew deep down inside myself, and that was
Yeah.
learning because I had to decide who I wanted to hang around with, who I wanted to do, and that was all through play. That was all through play. I don't like what those guys are doing, you know.
Aye.
No, I'll filter it with these guys. Decision making.
It is that, you know, technology is one of those things as well. It's killing creativity, but also it's, as you said, it's leaving a trace of good, bad, and different, whatever. Right? It's like someone's going, oh, well, if it didn't, if it's not on video, then it doesn't really count. I'm sure you see it at football matches, whatever. Parents are watching the child through a video, through the phone. It's like, but you know what it felt like to set goalposts on fire and set a football on fire, right? You
Yeah.
didn't need a video video to tell you that.
No. Well, and the problem was that's where he would have got caught. Now, caught
Mm,
now, like, but by saying this, but, um, there's some stuff there that we did, and that, look, and that's another side of creativity and play. And as you move up through the years of you going
mhm,
to explore that, whereas the opposite of that now is that's not happening as much, and the risk is actually happening online.
mhm.
And it's not, something we don't really need to keep delving down to, but there's a lot there within that. And I think you mentioned there before, even with sports clubs and watching kids. And I think there's this thing now on sports clubs where everything using the word academy and elite. And for me, that screams structure, you know,
Hmm.
competition, the will to win. I don't necessarily agree with calling things academy. It's a lovely way to put it, but sends out not the correct message of the age group that they're at. So
Yeah.
I'm talking anything, and I've mentioned this before. I think anything under preteen should not be elite. Like there was a video, the picture went up a few years ago. It was Man City's under five or under six, under seven, whatever it was, but it was in that age group.
Yeah.
Picture of their team, their academy. And like you're telling me you can identify talent there. And yes, you may be able to, but what's the other side effects of some young child who doesn't have the emotional intelligence, doesn't hasn't
Mhm.
reached their physical, emotional, everything potential, and you're turning around when they're eight and saying, "No, you're not in the program anymore."
Mhm.
But out of that 20, we found one superstar who's now playing for Man City, so this
Yeah.
is the be all and end all. And you're like, yeah, but what about the other 19 kids? Where are they now? Are they still physically active? Have they improved their physical literacy?
Yeah.
It's that's staggering for me. So this could probably be a field now we could naturally go towards is coaches when it comes to creating that environment. That's a big one. So if you are a coach of a youth team, go back to the youth physical development model we talked about, where some of the biggest things are we look at, especially from that age group of maybe they're starting at 4
Mhm.
to 10, 11, 12, where it's very unstructured. Fundamental movement skills are a high priority. You've got your strength as well too. So those are three key areas, especially from that 4 to say 8 mark, 7 or 8. And that's where you can really go in after play. I'm not talking about having your whole session of play, but what an opportunity in the warm up to let the kids explore, do what they want to do, play your
Mhm.
instant fun games. Or at the end, yeah, they want to play matches, but could you put in different rules or ideas or get them to come up with ideas for it? And that's play. So what do you want to do here? They may just want to say, we want to play football, you know, that's fine. But are you creating the environment then to for
Right
that?
for that. Yeah. Without, without naming names, I know of a club near me, and it's just that they are segregating massively at 8, 9, and sort of either you step into, and the practice could be 5, 6 hours a week, for 8 and 9 year olds, and they're making a cut and saying, you've got it, you've not got it, you're on the squad, you're not in the squad. And you're either 5, 6 hours a week, or you're basically, there's no class here for you.
Yeah.
And but they are writing on the back of saying we have previously, mentored and mentor Olympic athletes and all the rest. And I kind of took that point. It's like part of me says that they're not wrong in terms of, those that are dedicated and those that are showing the skill and all the rest. But at the same time, how much are they missing by having that very linear cutoff? And you might have a better take on that. I don't know.
Well, I think it goes back to you're now moving into this more structured form. You know, you're moving away from the home. You've now come into clubs, and it's the aim and the goal of the club.
Mm.
You know, what do you actually want? You know, are you running a gymnastics program, for example, to have so many children going through an elite program? And yes, you're going to have side effects of that. But for me, the club should take responsibility in terms of, well, what's our other system and our other pathway for improving the
Mm.
physical literacy, improving the enjoyment of our sport, that people may not be in the participation side, but later on down the line, if they've fallen in love with our sport, they may not be at a level where they can compete. But what about if they came back in another capacity? What if
Mm.
they became the chairperson? What if they became a treasurer? What if they became a volunteer, a committee member? What if they built another legacy, another program based on their love of what they've got from that? So yeah, you can focus on your elite. I get it, and there has to be a certain pathway, you know, for that done. But there's different ways of going around it. But also be very mindful of how you
Mm.
improving the overall physical literacy of the children who have spent their time and energy to come to your club is for me is like that's probably the part where, well, yes, you're going for this, but what about these 99% of other children that don't make it? What are you
Hmm.
doing for those? Or are you saying, we're not the club for you, go down there? Right or wrong, indifferent, whatever it is, if you can clearly state this is your goal, this is what
Yeah.
you're doing, your child may get, you know, they may not make it. Are they ready for that? You know, we have to be clear with them. It's not saying that they're a failure. It's just that we don't believe they're here. And by the way, go away. And if you're really driven and determined, you know, you can come back in and have another shot. Yeah, it's a harsher environment, but it it's one I suppose I'm getting later on in life, not later, well, mature, but like I was sitting there having a conversation with the guy, and I was like, "Well, how can we just create play sessions? What can we do where we can just invite the whole community to come down here and play for 2 hours?
Mm.
That gives me more enjoyment to do that." Then on the flip side, when I was working in those elite environments, working with the Club and I program from under 14s the whole way up, the joy that brings the player and myself of seeing those guys now play. Like for example, I was telling you the other day, I went to watch the Irish Cup final, and at the stage, I think there was 5 young players who came through a program that we were doing with Club NI on the pitch at the same time. Like they didn't know I was there at all. They didn't need to. I probably played the smallest part, but to see them be at a decent level, you know, knowing that there's other guys across the water and doing their thing, that was really good. But there's also a lot that
Hmm.
don't play, that do that. And I'd love to know where they are. Are they being physically active? Are they still involved in sport? Are they giving back to the community? Are they trying something different? Or did the program not support them in the right way that maybe they've totally dropped off everything? That's that's the thing for me is like if you're going to run programs like that, be mindful of the side effects.
Yeah. There's less sort of glory or less sort of visible benefits from that, though, isn't there? Because the problem is, it might be the kids that aren't necessarily getting the medals, but actually, there's a lot of kids that physically may not come into shape until they're in their teens, right? Or they may show that it's the ones that maybe aren't necessarily the most talented, but they're the ones that keep turning up to practice. So, as you say, the problem is you pull the cut too soon, and you might be missing a whole lot of opportunity, right?
Yeah, so it was Wayne Goldsmith. He's a famous guy from New Zealand. He worked with New Zealand All Blacks. He's worked in loads of Olympic cycles, but he talked about the quadrants where you've got talent and you've got determination, you know,
Mm-hmm.
commitment. So up one axis is talent, determination, the other. And then you have your four. So you have the boys in the bottom, the boys and girls in the bottom left corner where very little talent, no commitment. You know, and
Mm-hmm.
he was talking about even elite. He was like, so these are the ones you're like, look, it's not for them. Program's not for them. They go somewhere else. Then you have people then who are really talented but have no commitment.
Yeah.
Okay, so they're the top left corner of it. And he's like, those are the ones you need to be mindful of because we spend so much energy on these guys and girls chasing them
Yeah.
that sometimes we miss out on giving our energy to the bottom right, where they have loads of determination and a good bit of talent.
Hmm.
Because we think that those guys with little determination or commitment and loads of talent are going
Yeah.
to turn to the top right quadrant, which is commitment, determination, and talent all in one. And now he
Yeah.
he talked about New Zealand All Blacks. He's like, in my time, he's like, I could pick two or three. He says the only one that really stands out for me there in that one is Richie McCaw. And he's like, out of all the brilliant New Zealand players I've played with, Richie McCaw is the one that fits there. Others are kind of coming into it. He's like, but that's what it is. It's one in a generation. That's what I'm
Hmm.
talking about in that quadrant. But we believe the guys over just beside him with the same similar amount of talent, but not
Yeah.
the thing, is the ones we chase. And that's the ones that you need to go after, and you miss out on the other guys as well, guys and girls. And that could be loads of things from, as you said, being teenagers, being development. But we're always thinking that everybody should fit in to that top right. Whereas
Hmm.
he was saying, I've worked in elite sport, I've worked here. These guys are still professionals. I'm putting one or two people in that there out of all my decades of working in the top end of sport,
Yeah.
which is very, very interesting. That's somebody who's been there, who's done it, who's talked about it. But we believe, no, your man, he's there. That's him. You're like, is it? What are you comparing it against?
Yeah.
How do you know? It's your opinion. So, so yeah, that's kind of looking at that elite thing. But suppose when we strip it back down to set children up so they have the opportunity to reach their potential is a better way of looking at it. So, and not determining that or making a decision for them
Hmm.
until they're able to make that decision for themselves and lay out the pathway to say, look, you do
Yeah.
have a bit of talent. You do have this. You see me with this. In my experience, here's what it'll take. Are you willing to do that? Because if you are, I will help and support you and guide you along this journey. But if you aren't, then I may not be able to give my time and energy and effort towards that. And again, and it's the way it's saying, and that's okay, by the way.
Hmm. Yeah.
Just because I see the talent maybe in you, and that's my opinion, but it's okay if you don't want to. If you want to come along here and enjoy your hang, I don't turn around and ever say, you're such a waste of talent. You don't even care. You don't. If that's not where you're at, that's fine. Now, other people will say, well, they need that push, they need that drive, they need whatever. Yeah, there's the yin and the yang between pushing them away too far. But for me, another few things is if you, especially when you're working with a really young age, young children as well, it's all about setting up that environment. And one of the key things for me is get really good at asking questions and get really comfortable at asking questions.
Mm.
So, for example, if you're doing a skill, it's doing a certain thing or playing a game, what could we do better? How could we make it harder? Is there any other way we could try and do that? Even something, love what you did there, seeing you were trying to do, you didn't execute it. What was your thought on it? Well, I seen him make that run. Fantastic. I seen that too. Well seen. You may not have executed the skill, but you seen
Yeah.
him making that run. I applaud you for that. That's what I want. Or that's going to make you a better player. Rather than why'd you do that? You're never going to make that pass. Yeah, but you seen it. That's for me the magic. And if you can get
Hmm.
really good at saying that instead and asking that, and just asking, saying, "Oh, love that there. What made you think or make that decision?
Hmm.
What else did you see, or what did you not see? And you might turn around and say, "Well, I seen Mickey beside you." Say, "Yeah, but I seen Mickey, but I thought another boy was coming behind him and going to attack him." Okay, good, interesting. Right. Well, let's see. And we go, and that's probably the really good thing. Like as a coach, your technical and tactical stuff, yeah, you have to know to a certain level and have that knowledge and understanding. But how you deliver that and how you communicate with, especially young children, is invaluable when it comes to that.
Is it the three? I mean, you talked about there the determination, the talent, and the commitment are three ways, or is it down to four ways? Is passion the next thing? Determination, talent, commitment, and passion. Is it a four-way triangle or is it a three-way triangle? What's your take?
I think there's many things, and it's all created by the environment, your people, your everybody you surround yourself with, your vision, your goal. And again, I'm talking from my own personal experience from what I've seen with others, but
Mm-hmm.
like it was second nature for me growing up playing sport at the level we were playing at to go and drink bands when I was in my 20s. It was even playing at a younger age where we created the environment around with my friends where we played cards at night rather than doing that. And we did have a drive and passion, and we had that commitment. And I know when I reflect back on it now, for us to get where we got to and we won the county championship and everything, but it was at least 7 years or 8 years of commitment,
Yeah.
of real commitment. Now we committed throughout that, but once we came in,
Mm-hmm.
we decided we were on a journey and we could see things happening. But that was 7 years
Yeah.
for a few finals, and we won finals and that. But it was it's not easy. um, it's time consuming. It's
Yeah.
everything. And when that drops, yeah, all of those come through. That's when you really want to see when they come through.
Is this? I mean, possibly slightly getting down to a whole different area. But I mean, is this where sometimes coaching and coaches are and we see it probably more so in the Premiership and sort of high end managers where they're given a bit like a prime minister or anything else, they're given a window. And if they don't perform in that window, then they're out. But as you say, the problem is it might be that it takes multiple generations or multiple seasons to actually build up the muscle, to build it up, and
Yeah, I
some
think that's the
coach right.
thing. Now, as soon as you go higher and higher, the stakes get higher.
Yeah,
You
sure.
know, what makes that decision? Is it panic? Is it pressure? Is it finance? Is it what is it?
Mm-hmm.
Because then you've outliers and you have other stories. But it was like Alex Ferguson. I think they go back to the stage where he had proven success. He broke the old firm duck between Rangers and Celtic by winning with Aberdeen. But then he went to Man United. And they reckon that he was one goal away from being sacked. It was a FA Cup semi-final or something where they scored, took it to replay, but he stayed on and then ended up becoming the most decorated manager the world has ever seen, really,
Mm-hmm.
with a method. Now, was he going to get sacked? I don't know. Did the board see that within him? Is there something where you just go in the environment and you know that you have it? I was very blessed to work with a lot of good managers, even there, Michael O'Neill recently with the Northern Ireland squad. And one of the best things the players always thing is, one of them even turned around. He's the best man manager I've ever had. So he had that skill set. And then I was able to watch him coaching on the field, and his passion and his knowledge and understanding and his delivery
Mm-hmm.
was of extremely high level. So he did have a lot of the packages together, he had a lot of the attributes to do that. And And those are the things. And then he had a team around him. So you're only maybe as good as your team. That he had brilliant support and all of that, and who's the right people you're bringing in. So
Yeah.
there's so many factors when you get in that elite level, definitely. But yeah, it all filters through. And I suppose for me, that's one of the things when I learned that I was working in the elite environment, that it wasn't for me. It wasn't for me because probably number one, there was imposter syndrome when I first went there.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I realized I had to change who I was, who I had to adapt maybe too much to the people I'm working with, and also then what I was getting back from it, more intrinsically,
Mm-hmm.
uh, probably the ego was taking over more than what I was valuing. Working at a senior international level, traveling around Europe, working with top players. People are like, oh my God, that is amazing, that is good. And I'm like, I don't get that as much. Don't get me wrong, it
Hmm.
was absolutely amazing at times, but what I'm creating now with core kids and the mission and the values that I'm going with that gets me excited a lot
Yeah.
more. So which is really really interesting. Like so, um, but yeah. So I think looking at that, I think we probably could revisit this because there's things too we want to look at it. Maybe even focusing then too even on the schools. So we talked a little bit about the parents and then the coaches. Schools tapped a little bit, but I think there's a lot more too we can delve in on another podcast too. Yeah, even just schools really would be
Yeah.
interesting. What's your
No,
thoughts?
absolutely. I love it. I mean, it's real insight for parents, for schools, any sort of education, where it's like just with the kids, you said right at the very start, let them play, and that sort of purpose in play, that sort of whole thing of just let them play, and the talent will come through, as opposed to going, yeah, you kicked the ball well 5 times, so therefore we will streamline you from now on, and you kind of
Yeah,
possibly miss a whole lot of other stuff, right?
yeah, and that's it. And that's only if your goal is to go and compete and play sport at that level.
Yeah.
You know, what's the goal? And nobody at that age should know their goal. It's up to the club to decide when it comes to a certain level that just set an environment up where they love
Mm.
putting on their football boots, where they love putting on that jersey, that they have a sense of belonging from such a young age that you could just play your games and do whatever, and they associate that with
Yeah.
football.
Yeah.
And for them to come to a session and to leave, like I always say when I was taking the youth teams in our club, it's like, what's my goal? My goal would be for them to get back into the car to the parents and go, Mommy, can I come back next week?
Hmm.
Fantastic. Because
Yeah.
that, if you don't have them there, you can't help support and create them and develop their physical literacy. So, yes, they may be a player for your club, they may go on and do great things, or they may come under another capacity because you've built a love for them being involved, not in a sport, but a community.
Hmm.
So it's rephrasing what you're doing. If you're going to coach to create players, you're not developing players, you're developing people.
Yeah. What's three great quick questions that parents and coaches can ask when they're sort of analyzing the play time?
For coaches, I think it's just getting really comfortable in asking those open-ended questions. That so if it's more for a really young age, is letting them explore.
Hmm.
Can you show me different ways? That it doesn't always have to be by the book. So that would be like say for the young one. So is there a different way you can kick the ball? Who can kick it with a different part of the foot?
Hmm.
Who can kick it hard? Who can kick it soft? Who can kick it the highest? It may have no correlation to it, but you're developing those skills of exploring. And now you're saying, okay, which in this case would be a better kick to choose, do you think? When you're scoring a goal or you're kicking to your friend, to hard,
Yeah.
soft, whatever. Now, really young. Then when you're coming to a wee bit older, you're looking at bringing them in and having that conversation. Give them the opportunity to talk in front of their peers, but make it a safe environment where, okay, what formation should we play today, do you think?
Hmm.
What? Yeah. Because I remember even doing one of my first time I was coaching some senior uh, players. It was football. I was working in the FA, and a little got them in. And the first thing I asked was, I didn't tell them anything. I said, "What did you think?" One of the senior players in the team was, "What do you mean? Oh, you were playing. What did you think and feel out
Hmm.
there?" Oh, well, rather than it's not only coming in, guys, know what we need to do. I was like, You're not playing. You're a coach. So, first and foremost, what did they see? What did they think? What did they feel?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
they're there. And if you're constantly instructing them, where are they going to go and have their creativity? So that would be for that. In the home, probably one thing as well too for me would be, just to set that environment up, set back. But another beautiful one would be, I always I've mentioned it before, but even in the car journey home from the sport, if your child is playing sport, a really, not a good question even to ask, a really good phrase to say is when your child gets into the car is, I loved watching you play out there today.
Yeah.
No judgment, No assessment on anything. Just, I love watching you play out there today.
Yeah.
And then the conversation may flow. If it doesn't even go from there at all, but they know, okay, like, but mean it. Like,
Hmm.
take your emotions away from seeing your child on a pitch, talking out, being whatever, and going, yeah, I have a sense of pride there. And just really love you watching play. And if they play with a smile on their face, even better. And knowing that you're not getting any pressure from your parents here, that's it. Now, I think then it becomes a discussion. Oh, they didn't pass. They didn't. Well, what do you mean, son? What do you mean? Where do you
Hmm.
think it would happen, or what could you do differently? Or okay, well, what would you do then? How would you approach? And I had the conversation even with my son about with his rugby coach, and like I had called the rugby coach as well. I was doing a bit of coaching with him, excellent coach, and he was saying Josh is a bit of an enigma. He's like, he's all the attributes, he's there. And I was like, to be honest, I totally agree with you. And see, and I approached it with Josh and says a thing, and I just says, well, what do you want to do? What do you think you're going to do? He's like, I know, I do want that. I said, well, what do you think? He's like, I'll speak to the coach actually. I was like, well, if you want to speak to coach, fantastic,
Hmm.
go for it. It's entirely up to you, And I just said to him, I said, Josh, you do have the talent, whatever. Yeah, maybe you're at a stage now, you're an age. He's 16 now. He's like, you will have to put the commitment, and here's what it's going to take. Here's
Yeah.
what it will take based on my experience, based whatever.
Yeah.
Are you willing to do that? And if you're not, that's okay. Just for me, I would just say my advice would be stay in the game. Stay in the game and enjoy it for what it is. If you don't want to push on to that level, that's okay.
Yeah.
That's okay. I don't, if you go, but I'd rather you enjoy what you do. So he did speak to the coach and he actually improved in the ring too. So it was good. So yeah, so those are a few, because that conversation can just build from there, but that would be a nice phrase too for parents.
Yeah. Gary, I think as always we could talk about this even more, but I think for today let's I'll let you wrap up, and thank you for letting me be here with you today. So thanks again.
Brilliant. So no, good. And I definitely think there's a whole area there too with the schools we talked about. So yeah, this was a part now, but just by creating that environment. We touched a little bit on parents and on coaches as well. So hopefully if you're listening to this, you picked up something, implement it. We talked about that PIP framework you mentioned to me earlier too, about putting it into practice. This was all about. We can hear all the words, we can hear all the scenarios, just put it into practice. So guys, thank you so much. And thank you, Pete, as well. See you all soon.